later and I'm going to try to go as slow as possible. If we notice there are a lot of questions on a specific topic, we'll stop and take a break. Always feel free to put something in the chat also if you have any questions, but I'm going to share my screen with you. All right, so you should have this Rhino file open and ready to go. It has 3 different layers: the colonnade, the ground, and the tower. When you are preparing a file for Twinmotion, it's important to have the layers separate because you're going to want to apply different materials to them or have different elements move. So it's just really important to have them on different layers. And just to reiterate, make sure you have Twinmotion open as well. So you're going to type this command, datasmith direct link sync, and hit enter. So once again, that's datasmith direct link sync, and I'm just going to leave it up, pause like this for a second so that you guys can look at that command, write it down if you want. If you use Twinmotion on your personal laptop, you'll have to install the datasmith plugin, but that doesn't take very long at all. So I will just give you guys a minute to do that. Okay. So that command, then you're going to go to Twinmotion, and there's this plus sign right here that says import. You're going to click that, and then you're going to click direct link, and your file will show up right here. And you just click import, and it will show up in Twinmotion. Once again, that's import, direct link, and then select import. Now your Rhino files and Twinmotion files will be directly synced. So if you update anything to your Rhino file and you want it to update in Twinmotion, you go to this datasmith thing over here and hit synchronize with direct link. And it might be in a different place on your computer, but it's just the datasmith tab. So now that we're in Twinmotion, I'm going to go through some of the basic controls. So the numbers 1 through 4 on your keyboard adjust the speed that you can navigate through on Twinmotion. So 1 will be very slow, like this. 4 will be obnoxiously fast. I like to kind of operate in 2, but this will just depend on like the speed of your computer and stuff. You can play around with it. The controls are, you'll be using the keys W, A, S, D, Q, and E. So W is forward, S is back, D is to the right, A is to the left, E is down, and Q is up. And once again, you can just adjust the speed with the numbers 1 through 4, 1 being slow, 4 being fast. And yeah, W, A, S, D, Q, and E. If you're a gamer, this should be familiar to you. And then as for the mouse controls, there's a very helpful panel at the top here that kind of shows you, but you can right click to look around. You can pan in and out by scrolling. And then if you hit shift and pan, you can orbit around the object. So just play around for a minute, get used to using the interface, find the speed that you like. I'm going to be operating on speed 2 so that you guys can really see what's going on. And okay, it looks like everyone's pretty good. Okay. So now this arrow right here will open your layers, and it'll be the same layers that you have in Rhino, and they're separated by different materials applied to them and stuff. So you can do the same thing that you do in Rhino. You can turn off your layers, you can select them individually in Twinmotion. Yeah. You also have this starting ground that Twinmotion automatically puts in for you. It's fairly simple. And then you can also go over here to this arrow and it opens up a library. So the library is a very fun and helpful tool.
How do you open layers?
I'm showing them right now, this arrow. Yeah, so layers, again, it's this arrow right here. And then it just shows this panel. I'll pause for a minute so that you guys can get that. But yeah, anytime you add any objects or anything, they'll show up in this layers thing. And then anytime you update in Rhino, if you update a layer, make sure to click the synchronize with direct link button. So I'm going to close my layer tab just because it gives me more space to work in Twinmotion. But once again, showing how to go to your library. And also, yes, this is recorded. Yeah, it's currently recording. And you change the speed with the numbers 1 through 4, 1 being slow and 4 being fast. And this will be recorded and sent out on Carmen. Okay, going back, this arrow opens up the library. You can apply different materials to each of your layers. This is why it's important to have everything separated on different layers in Rhino, because once you apply a material, it will be applied to the entire layer. So let's kind of play around with materials for a little bit. You guys are going to want more colorful renderings. So I like the plastic materials, like this glossy plastic, for example. And what you do is you just click and drag it directly on to whatever object you want to be that material. So once again, you have all these materials to choose from. I'm going to go to plastic. You click and drag onto whatever layer. You can also customize these so you can make them a different color. If you want a color from a specific color palette, you can type in its hex code, or you can just play around in this little color wheel here and it changes the color. Now, right now, this is really shiny, so you can adjust the reflection, make it completely matte, or make it completely glossy by playing around with this. If refresh. Yeah, like if I change something in Rhino, yeah. So just to reiterate, if you change something in Rhino, like if I move this and I go synchronize, it's now moved in Twinmotion. But I'm going to move that back and hit synchronize with direct link, and it is back to where it was when I started. So back to talking about some of the textures. You can also play around with scale. Not as important for a texture such as like glossy plastic, but let's say you have a material with a pattern on it, like this checkered linoleum. You can scale it down and back up to whatever scale you want, and just have fun with it. This is a fun project, and we want to see like how creative you can be, and Twinmotion is a really fun software to play around with. So let's just take a few minutes to add materials to all of your layers. So I'm going to do something fun like this, and then maybe tower. Like you can get really crazy with it. You can add a whole like video
How do you
onto your
how do you import the rhino in the
object if you want, and
What's
you can
that?
import your own videos. I think that's honestly really cool. But it's going to take forever to render, so I'm not going to do that today. But you can just play around with some of your different textures. I'm gonna check if you have any questions, please raise your hand, or I'm trying to check the chat as much as I can. But just play around with it, and then in a couple minutes, I can show you guys how to add more things in here. So we also have glass. And I tend to like these materials more than the ones in Rhino. They render really nicely. And there are just a lot more options. And it's highly customizable. Like glass, you can change the opacity. A little finicky sometimes, but something else that I've found to be really helpful is we also have, like, you can add water, and the water looks really realistic in Twinmotion. Like that. You can also make the entire ground plane water if you wanted to, and it animates that. And it's really nice. And with water, you can adjust the depth of the water. You can make it super wavy or very calm. You can turn the season on. You can change the color. So if you want it to look more like Ohio water, you can make it this brown, you know. But we'll make it pretty today. Yeah, you can have your building just completely floating in water if you want. It's super fun. You can obviously have it just be concrete as well. Any texture you want to do, you can do. But I'm going to have this tower be brick, and I'm gonna make it this fun pink color. And then I'm just gonna adjust the scale to be that. So, okay, does everyone feel good about materials? Like, does that make sense? You can just kind of give me a thumbs up. I'm kind of looking around at all of you. Thank you so much. I'm trying to keep a good pace for you guys. Okay, so let's look at some of the other options that, oh, we have a chat. How do you select a material after applying to a different object? Okay, good question. So let's say I want this tower to be the same material as my colonnade right here. I can hit the eyedropper and just eyedrop that and drag that over to the tower. Does that make sense? So the eyedropper just selects any of the materials we have here. So if you want it to be the checkered linoleum, it'll keep it for you and everything. And you can just drag that over from here, and it will apply that for you.
There's Wyatt.
So if you set up the material and moved on to another and want to edit it later, how would you do that? So you click on your object, you go to material picker, and then you can edit it right there with the eyedrop. So it's the same kind of deal. You can just edit it right there, if that makes sense. And then I'm just gonna click out of that real quick. Gonna look at the chat again. Is there a way to change the orientation of the material? I think so. Let me look. Eyedropper, scale. Yeah, so I'm gonna go back just so you guys can see that. I'll do this again, but you can change the rotation by clicking on that scale button, and then under that scale button, there was a button that said more. change the rotation. Like that. Or change the axis, you can stretch it. So stretch that to make it go across the y-axis. When you're working in Twinmotion, you'll always think of things as on the x, y, and z axes. Make them super thin, and I actually didn't know you could do that, so thank you for that question. Also, if there's ever something that you can't seem to figure out in Twinmotion, there are these, you see if you hover over these buttons and it has that F1 with the YouTube icon. If you hover over that and press F1 on your computer, it will directly bring you to a YouTube tutorial on that exact button. Like they have very specific tutorials on the Twinmotion YouTube. Yeah, that is just your basic overview of materials. There's obviously a lot that you can do with it, but I'm just going to go over that one more time. So under here, there are these buttons that say more, and I changed the pattern by going to the scale button and clicking more. And then you mess around with rotation, axes. I really like, okay, so apparently you can move it. Interesting. That's kind of fun. Yeah, you can play around with some of that stuff. So I'm gonna go back and kind of wait for you guys to, I'm kind of looking at your screens right now, making sure everything's good.
Keep going slowly.
Seems like we're all in a good place. So I'm going to move on to how to add vegetation and landscape. And once again, see how I'm hovering over this and there's that YouTube button and it says F1. You can literally click F1 and it'll take you to a YouTube tutorial. Is everything good? Okay, I hope so. So then let's say we want to start adding some vegetation in. I'm a sucker for a weeping willow, you know? So I have that. And this is just
They have cherry
great
blossoms.
because you can change the age of the tree. So you can make it super old, super young, kind of just adjust the scale of it, honestly. Can change whether or not the leaves are growing. So I'm gonna have that on. If you want the leaves to kind of match the color of your color palette, which I suggest because that's just fun. You can just do that. Once again, if you have a specific color palette, hex codes are very important. Just always have the hex codes of your color palettes because that will just be really important throughout school. Just makes things a lot easier. So I'm gonna keep with my pink theme here. You can change the tint of the bark. So you can make it like a lime green if you want. Good. And then you can also change like the season of the tree. So if you want to do a winter rendering, that just gets rid of all the leaves on your tree. Autumn, since we kind of customize our own color, it's not really going to show, but they would be kind of half dead, you know. Summer, they're a little perkier, or just autos puts you in like whatever season we're in right now. And then you see how these leaves are kind of moving in the wind. If you want it to be more still, you can just turn that wind off and it'll stop. But I like to have it on because it brings some more life to the rendering. And see, Twinmotion is great because it brings in some really nice shadows and it's just very nice. So do we have any questions about that at all? I can move out of trees and show you some more things if you want. Like they have bushes, like some palm trees in this school always go over really well in reviews. Obviously, if you have a specific site, you're gonna wanna do research onto like what trees and vegetation, etc., can grow in your site, because if your site is in Chicago and you have a palm tree in your rendering, that's a little sus. Obviously, the more things you add, oh, I'm gonna check the chat. if you put the same texture on multiple buildings, is there a way to separate the objects so when you scale the textures, it doesn't scale them all? Good question. I honestly don't know. I don't think so, honestly. I mean, that's the problem with Twinmotion being so simple, is that unfortunately, you can't customize it as much as you would want. But a way I would combat this, like, let's say you do want a more reflective plastic on that, just go in like, oh gosh. So they're kind of paired together right now, but you can play around with it later. I paired them earlier in the tutorial, so I can't really change it right now without being confusing. And I don't want to confuse anyone. What was I saying? How do you duplicate an object? You can copy, paste, instance. Now there are two of them. I think it also should work where if you press and hold Alt and move it. Oh no, but that does work in Rhino. In Rhino, if you want to copy something over, if you hold Alt while moving something, it will copy that. But yeah, you just click on that. Click these three dots, copy, right click, paste here, instance, okay. And then it'll show up right on top. There we go. I hope that makes sense. You can also probably Control C, Control V, yep. Same diff. But yeah, I think I was talking about researching like vegetation and stuff. Put some weeds. Obviously that shows up incredibly small. Rocks, you know. You can move everything around with the gumball tool in this. But you guys can take a couple minutes and just like add vegetation in, play around. There are so many different things you can add, like, and Twinmotion's really good with snapping to surfaces as well. So if you want to put some like ivy on your building, you see how it's like rotating over that corner because it just knows the surfaces. Can't really scale these. They're just kind of default. So this one would be better if you're doing like a closer rendering, like that or something. Like, see how it's blowing in the wind? So nice. Beautiful. But you can obviously mess around with different things. But yeah, you can't really scale these just objects that you're putting in. But you can add a bunch. But just keep in mind that the more things you add in Twinmotion, the longer it's going to take to render. And if you're using your personal laptop, the more susceptible that makes it to, unfortunately, crashing. Yeah, so there's not like a command like that for Twinmotion. Again, since it's such a simple software, it doesn't have like commands like Rhino would. Oh my God, my computer froze. This is so fun. Okay, there we go. So you do have to kind of guess, honestly. So with your perspectives, you'll be somewhere like right here. So honestly, let's find our perspective views like this. I just guessed. It's easier to guess when you're at a slower speed. So moving at the speed of 1 can really slow down your file. I'm just gonna give you guys time to like ask questions because I do see some hands. I'm gonna go through the chat. Is there a way to pause animated materials while editing to reduce the strain on the computer? Yes. So I'm gonna speed up my speed real quick, but you guys don't have to follow me. If you have your view, perspective view set up, stay there. So let's say I want this water to slow down. I would honestly like turn the waves off while you're working, and then you can go back and edit them, turn season off. Same with trees, like I'm on a powerful computer though, so I'm gonna keep mine on. But trees, like just turn wind off and it'll make it still. So again, click on your object if it's moving and turn its wind off. And that will make the file hopefully operate a little smoother. You shouldn't have much problem with textures, but trees, you can definitely turn that off. I'm just playing around with my tree again. That's fun. But I'm just kind of giving you guys time to get oriented. So I'm going to be working in this view for the rest of the tutorial, since this is about, and once again, you'll have to guess, this is about the view you'll be working in. How do you delete things like rocks? So
Yeah, it did. I didn't know.
let's
I
say
tried to put my stuff in, it wasn't working.
I have a rock. I put it in here. I can either click on the object and hit the delete button on my computer, or I can go click on it in the layer panel, hit these dots, hit delete, or I can click on the layer and hit the delete button on my computer. So there are multiple ways to do all of those things. I personally just like to click on the object. It'll always be highlighted in this yellow color, so it's super easy to see what you have selected. It'll also be highlighted in your layers panel, and you can just delete that. So let's take a minute to kind of set up some views here with our vegetation. You're doing good with questions. Okay. Okay, so there are more things than just vegetation that can be added. You can add objects as well. For example, home. You can choose any room that you might want to add things from, and it will have so many different options of things to add. For these renderings, we're going to want to be a little abstract and fun with it. So you can just have a good old time exploring around here. Like, once again, you can't really change much about these objects. Like you can't change their color, you can't change their scale. It's just set to be the scale of whatever it is in real life. But they have a lot of options, so you can kind of customize that on your own. I like the decals a lot. Can add like graffiti and stuff to your Twinmotion file. And once again, it recognizes the surfaces, so it'll move for you. So if you want this little piece of art on your tower, you just drop it in and it shows up in your layers panel again. And once again, you can edit these. So you can make it quite large, quite small. You can change the opacity if you only want it to show up a little. Offset just kind of shows how far away from the wall you want it to actually be. I have no idea what that button is, you know, it's fine. Change the settings even more, so it can glow. So sometimes when you click on a material or an object, you get lucky and you can edit it. But most times these materials that you add in, you're not going to be able to edit them. It's also really fun if you want to add a puddle in here or something. I just think the water in Twinmotion is really great, honestly. And this is showing up pink because it's reflecting the walls that you already have. Water is automatically reflective in Twinmotion. I'm going to check the chat really quick. Yes, so there's a way to get rid of the skyline in the background. I will go over that once we're done going through textures and stuff. And as for the color of different objects, like I stated, like sometimes you'll click on an object and it will give you the option to change some of the things, and you kind of just have to play around with it. But sometimes you just won't have that option. But for example, this one, you can change the color of it. It just, yeah, will kind of change the way it looks a lot, I guess. But sometimes for the desks and chairs and stuff, you won't be able to change the colors. So we can just kind of play around with adding some items in and setting up our scenes. While you guys play around, I'll also be playing around, and I'll be sure to monitor the chat so that you guys, yeah, I just want to make sure I'm going at a decent pace for you guys. I like adding particles in as well. It can really make a rendering look so great, especially if it's an animated rendering. I like the ground fog, and once again, you just click and drag that in. It'll show up as a bunch of these particles. So that's just the center of it, but do you see how it's like slowly adding that fog on the ground? It's really nice. You can't customize it at all, but and then if you want to delete it, once again, you just go over to your layers and hit delete, and it'll go away. You can play around with those. You can also have like water fall from the sky. So it'll show up on the ground first, but do you see how it's like, yeah, it like goes up like that? It's really nice. And when you render it, these particles won't show up. It's just making sure that you don't lose where your objects are. You can kind of play around with those. Can set our house on fire if you want. Kind of fun, you know? This assignment's all about having fun and being creative, as most of architecture is. Always, when in doubt, always play. It's so fun that way. You can add a cube of water in the middle. Kind of change the color. But a lot of Twinmotion is just playing around, clicking on things, and seeing what you can do with it. When in doubt, F1. You can also add things that would normally be in a city. So you can add different flags. I'll add a cute little, I'm a fan of this bench. Always been a fan of that bench. It's very photogenic, you know? I don't know. I'm trying to be funny. I know this is boring. Let's add some plants, you know? I don't know. I'm just looking around at you guys and kind of stalling because I just want to make sure you all are feeling good about the pace of this. Yeah. So nice. Can I edit that? Nope. Sometimes you'll get sad because you can't edit something. It's fine. It's not a sign, you know? Let's say that, let's say that pedestrians can cross. So fun. And once again, just to reiterate, the more you add, the longer it will take to render, which is sad, but it's fine. Now that we've added our objects, something that is really fun about Twinmotion is adding characters. It will have a library of already animated humans for you to choose from. So you can kind of have your favorite humans, pick whoever you would like. It does not matter. Some of them are a little odd, but you know, it's fine. you can drag them in. So I'm gonna drag this guy in. Okay, great. Okay, great. Drag this guy in. He has different presets of the different fits he is posted up with. Now let's pose him. Let's make him dance. So fun. He is grooving. Oh, you don't like the dance he's doing? That's fine. You can change it. Now he's really getting down, having a good time. It's very fun to play around with. You can make, so these like special ones, some people have different special things. So you can put someone in a wheelchair. You can be feeding the pigeons. And I don't know, sometimes you can have them swim. I'm trying to look at that, but yeah, now he's gaming. He's a gamer. I think he's gonna be a gamer for this scene for me. He's obviously not sitting on anything, which is a little problematic. So maybe like, let's not do that. He's gonna take a picture of this plant. But then you can also have them be in groups. So let's say I want these kids to be playing some hopscotch in my scene. These are just preset. You can't like change what they're doing, but they're just hopping around and you can just click on them, moving forward. You can't scale them or anything like that. They're just gonna be whatever scale a human is. I'm also gonna add, like, I'm just gonna show you guys because honestly, I'm obsessed with water in Twinmotion. So you can add like how it says like beach. So I'm gonna add Audrey Beach. She's gonna be in the water there. And special. See, you can have her swim and just drag it down a little. Perfect. So let's just play around with the different characters you can add in Twinmotion. And then we're going to take a break in about 3 minutes because we have a solution for your computers. You can also add animals in. I'm going to get rid of this guy. So, like, now this hawk. Is that a hawk? I don't know. That's not in my job description to know animals. You can move him to the front. He can be flying around in your scene. I'm a big fan of adding things to the front of your scene. Like, just kind of have to get used to playing around with it, but like those butterflies are flying around now. It just adds some life to your scene. Let's put Giselle in here. She's beautiful. So Giselle's vibing over there, looking at that painting kind of looks like her. How do you make people walk along the path? We will get there. That is advanced stuff, but we will get there after the break. I'm going to show you guys how to make tons of things move. Fish swimming. You want some fish swimming in the sea out here? Wow, they're so nice. But yeah, we're just gonna kind of play around, and this is a good point to stop and kind of reorient yourself. If you don't want them moving, you can just bring Frank out here, and he's just not gonna move. He's just gonna be posed. Or cutouts. They're not gonna move, but still great for a still animation or a still rendering, because Twinmotion can be used for renderings as well. And when we get back from the break, I'm going to show you guys how to start animating and making things move and getting rid of this background. But yeah, this is a great place to stop. Just keep playing around with your scene.
Okay, guys, we're gonna take a bathroom break. Sorry, there's an echo. 10-minute break. We have a solution to the computers that don't work. There's about 30 computers that have problem on sign up. And Live is going to send you via Carmen a link. So I just forwarded her an email. She will post right now on Carmen. you guys will go to Carmen and go to that link, and it will bring you to the EPS resource for a house.
Okay, so we're recording again. I'm going to share my screen. All right, we are back in Twinmotion, and we are going to make things move. For those of you who joined late, I'm going to go over animation for the next 10-15 minutes, and then I'm going to do a quick speed run of everything I just went over. This is also recorded, so it will be posted on Carmen and you can watch it in your own time. And I am always available to answer any questions at all that you might have, even after class. Like, I can meet with any of you in the studio space. I'm more than happy to do that. So we are in our library and we are going to scroll down to tools. So once again, library, tools. Then we're gonna click animators. We are gonna click translators. There are translators and rotators. Rotators make an object rotate. Translators make an object move along a line. So let's translate today. And they have some of these default translators in here. So let's say I drop this door in. If I get close to it, you have to get close to it just because the way it operates, it closes on its own. Pretty neat. But same with this. If I get close to it, it moves on its own. These are helpful, but honestly, I don't suggest using them. What we're going to use is we're going to move our own things around. Sorry, I'm just finding this view again. This is good. So I'm going to click this translator and I want to move this tower. I'm going to drag this translator near this tower, and then I'm going to click this button right here that says object link. Then this square pops up with this circle in the middle of it. You are going to click your tower. This tower is now linked to that translator. If you want to unlink it, you hit this object unlink and click it, and it will now not be linked to the translator. If you want to just go back to your normal editing, you hit pivot edit, you now have a normal mouse. But today we're going to make this tower move because for this assignment, you will need to make one piece of architecture move. And it can just be a simple move like that. And then you can go in here and edit it. So let's say we want it to move a little further up. We can edit the distance. The distance is going to be in meters. That's just how it is. And then you can choose the animation style. So I can have it go on a loop. Like that. You see how it like immediately went back down for that? Like it went abruptly versus ping pong. It's gonna go up and then smoothly back down. And also just the speed. So it can really undulate like that. Like so. Now, let's say you don't want it to move up and down. You want it to move side to side. See this distance button right here? Click more. Axis. So right now it's moving on the Z axis. That means up and down. I can change it to the X axis and it moves side to side. Or I can change it to the Y axis and that moves back and forth. So let's go back. And then if you want it to just like stop playing while you're working, you just hit play off and it won't move. You'll just have to remember to turn it back on once you want to start rendering. So I'm gonna have it move in the X direction. Actually, no, I'm gonna have it move in the Z direction. You can choose. You don't have to exactly do what I'm doing. And then I'm gonna have it move a negative distance so that it goes under our ground plane, so that it kind of rises up from under the ground like so. And I'm gonna make it go just a little slower so it's not
recording in progress.
with my head. Yeah. So that is how you translate. So I'm just gonna go through that one more time. I'm gonna delete this translator. Oh no. Okay, don't do that. I'm gonna stop it. Oh, you gotta unlink first before you delete. Okay, so I'm gonna go through that one more time. You click and drag the translator in. You hit object link. You click on the object you want to move. It is linked now. And then you can play around with these different settings. Adjusting speed. You can move it in a positive distance or a negative distance. And by clicking more on distance, you can change the axis to X, Y, or Z. It doesn't matter where you put your translator. I just like to have it near the object so that I can keep everything straight. And once again, my play is off right now. You can just turn it on when you're ready for your object to start moving. Anytime you click anywhere on the screen, it'll start the animation over. Like that. Also, make sure you're muted. I see some people are unmuted right now.
Here.
It might mess with other people's stuff. Yeah. Let's. I don't know what I just did. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna delete this translator though, because and unlink before you delete. Always unlink, or else it'll get rid of your object. I'm gonna delete this, and I'm gonna show you guys how to rotate now. And I'm gonna move this plant so that you guys can see what I'm doing. Now rotators, same kind of thing where they have like the things that you can just kind of put in there that rotate by themselves. But the rotator is what you'll use to move your own geometry. Once again, it doesn't matter where you put it, but I like to put it near my object so that I know where it is. I'm just gonna make sure. I'm gonna go in. Some of you need to mute. So once again, works the same way. Object link. Let's make this tower rotate. So right now it's kind of going back and forth because it's on ping pong, and it's rotating around the point that I put my rotator on. So I'm gonna put it like, you can't really get it exact. You kind of have to guess, but I like to put it right in the center there. And then when I click off, it'll start rotating around that point, you see? And you can just kind of play around with that as best you can. You can adjust the angle of the rotation. So if you want it to spin in a full 360, there you go. And it's going back and forth because it's on ping pong. But you can have it loop, and it'll just spin in a continuous circle, like so. Yeah, so there's a question on how you rotate in another direction. You change the angle to negative, and it'll go in the opposite direction. Same thing with the like distance thing in the translator one. It's just negative. Negatives counterclockwise, positives clockwise. You can have it rotate in any amount you want. 360 just looks the best, in my opinion. You can change the axis too. Get really funky with it. Change it in the Y. Change it in the X. And it's super fun. But we'll just have it go in the Z direction for now. And you can also just have it only do it once and then stop. And once again, just like in the translator one, while you're working, if you don't want to move it around, just turn play off. Just remember that you will have to turn it back on when you want to make your rendering. So for this tutorial, I'm going to use the translator that I showed you guys. So I'm going to unlink this. And I'm going to delete this rotator. I'm going to go back to translators. Click and drag this translator. I'm going to hit object link. I'm going to have it move under the floor like I had it before. I'm going to hit play on. I'm going to have it be ping pong. And I'm going to have it go at a decently quick speed, but nothing too overwhelming. So that can be your piece that you choose to have move for this assignment. Obviously your scene will be different, but it can be just as simple as that. So I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes to kind of get that going, and then I'm going to show you how to animate it or how to render it so that it's a video. There are obviously like more advanced things you can do. You can create your own paths and have it move along that path. If you want to learn how to do that, please just ask me after class and I can set up a really quick meeting with you. For now, I'm just going to show you guys the very simple translations just because of the time we have. But really quickly, I can show how you would kind of play around with that. You would go to paths and you'd create your own custom path and create this pen tool. You can click with that and create your own path for things to move along. It's a bit more complicated than normal. I honestly am not an expert at all in the slightest. But yeah, it's good. You see how it's like moving that box in a loop. There's a way in Twinmotion where you can like assign your objects to a library, but once again, that's like pretty advanced and not the point of this tutorial today. But if you ever want to learn stuff like that with Twinmotion, I'm willing to post a tutorial about it separately or talk to you one-on-one. I really like Twinmotion. So yeah, I'm just gonna give you guys a minute to kind of figure that out. Please put in the chat or ask Marta or Lexi any questions you might have. If you're good to move on, you just kind of shoot me a thumbs up so I can kind of know what the pacing should be for this. Okay, I don't see many thumbs up, so I'm gonna give you guys a couple minutes before I start doing this. Please put something in the chat if you want me to show it again. But the translators and rotators are pretty much the only things we should be using right now. You can put multiple translators down and have multiple things move, but for the purpose of this, I'm just gonna have one. Can we translate and rotate at the same time? Honestly, let's see. That's such a good question. I would think so. see what's going on with that. I'm gonna turn the play off for this really quick. I just so you know what I did, I turned the play off for the translator so that this stops moving. But rotate, I'm gonna link this. Okay, I'm gonna have it. I'm just kind of playing around. Honestly, I never thought of doing that. And that is such a good idea. To turn play on. Yeah, it doesn't look like you can do them at the same time. It would be cool if you could, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like that is an option. Yeah, you can have characters turn a corner, like so kind of what I was showing earlier with the create your own path tool. I'll just do that really quick to kind of show you guys. I just don't want to get too intense with this, just in case people are behind. But you would go to this context button, and there are a lot of different buttons in here, but go to paths. I would create my own custom path, and you can click this custom path tool. If you want to click F1 and learn more about it, there's a YouTube video that's probably going to explain it a lot better than I do. But let's say I want a person like walking like that. And then I'm going to click this. Box. It's Twinmotion is so finicky. It's kind of insane. I literally can't click that box for some reason right now. There we go. Click the box. Go to library. You can change that box to be a person. If you go to characters, animated humans, put our man's back in here. He is vibing. Like, yeah, that's what you can do for that. Super fun. Obviously does not look the most realistic at all. You can change his animation and kind of have him like walking, and I would just play around with the speed of this a little to make him like not look so unrealistic. Like, there we go. But if you want him to run, you can. He is zooming. Kind of fun. You can do it with tons of different objects though. Like, you can have a bird fly along that path and such. Some things are going to be a little bit more easy than others. Yeah, but that's just like a quick, very, very quick tutorial on custom paths. You guys do not have to do that, but if you want to explore it, obviously that's going to make your animation really cool. Yeah, I think that most of you should have everything set up for the most part on your like animators. So I'm going to turn my play on, and that tower will eventually come up. I'm actually going to make the distance a little shorter so that we don't have to wait as long for the tower to pop up. Okay. And I know that it's a little chaotic right now because people are getting their licenses set up, but we're moving forward. So I just clicked this media button down here in the lower left, and you can have a still rendering if you want. And in order to do that, you just go to whatever frame, like view you want, and you hit create image, and it's just going to save that image. Let's say that's all you wanted and you're done. You go to export. You click on what you want to export. So I want to export that image. It's right there, and you hit start export. It'll ask you what folder you want to save to. I'll just save to my downloads for now. Select folder, It's going to tell you how much time it's going to take to compute. It already computed that. You can then go to your file explorer. Oh, happy National Sandwich Day, everyone. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. There, it's rendered right there. Pretty easy, pretty nice renders. But let's talk about videos and such. Media, video, create video. It has this frame ready to go. You can adjust the seconds. So for your assignment, you only need a 5 to 10 second long video. So I'm going to keep this at 10 seconds. Actually, no, I'll keep it at 5. And then if you want another frame, and if you want the camera to move, you move in Twinmotion forward this much. Any really direction's fine. And you hit create keyframe, it'll add another frame. Then let's say you want a frame of it panning over here to this tree. Create frame. You don't need that many frames because for this assignment, you really only need a short video. So obviously right now I have it set to this whole part being in the span of 5 seconds. So it's going to go really quickly. So let's say I want it to be I want it to take 15, let's do 10. I want this whole scene to take 10 seconds. I'm then going to go to export video. It's empty right now. I just have to select that video. Go back. I'm going to deselect this image because I don't want it to render again. So you just have this video. Everything else is empty. I'm going to hit start export. I'm going to save it to my downloads again. It's going to tell you the time left to compute. If you're using your personal computer, it's going to take a long time probably if you don't have like a super powerful computer, but typically for a 10-second animation, it should not take long. Okay, it's done. So then you have to go to your file explorer. Your video will be wherever you chose to save it. And then you can watch and see how it creates the transition in between the keyframes for you. It just knows like the optimal way to go about it. But so that's just kind of showing you guys how to move around and stuff. But for your assignment, you're gonna really want to showcase just the moving piece of architecture that you had. So I'm gonna go back to the view that I had set up. I don't really know why my thing isn't moving. Oh, my tower's just gone, I guess. Okay, that's fun. Interesting. I'm gonna figure this out real quick. Yeah, so I don't know why it's gone, but it is gone. RIP my tower. Okay, well, for the sake of this video, I'm gonna link the translator to this colonnade then. And that will just be, I guess, what we do. Play on. Okay. It is moving. So I'm gonna go to media. I'm gonna go to video. I'm gonna create a new video. It's gonna call it video 2. I'm gonna set it to be 10 seconds long. This is literally all you have to do for your assignment. You just have to have it in the perspective view and have this one keyframe. You're then gonna deselect that, select this video, hit start export. I'm gonna have it go to my downloads, select folder. Estimated time, it is gonna take not that long at all to export because it's a very simple animation. So we're just waiting for it to export. Also, I see that there's a question in the chat and I promise I will answer it right after I show you guys this. Our video is here. And look at that. You have a 10-second long video with a piece of architecture moving. Very fun. Answer some questions. Can you create meshes with physics like a curtain of cloth in the wind and Twinmotion? Yeah, so they're in the Google Drive. There'll be like a Google Drive sent out to you guys, or there might have already been a Google Drive sent out of like different meshes you can download and import to your like Rhino model scene that you'll have. Yeah, I don't know if you can like program necessarily like a curtain in the wind. Yeah, that's like pretty advanced for Twinmotion. I just don't think it has that capability, to be honest, but I'm gonna look that up on YouTube and see if I can figure that out for you. Once again, just to quickly go over the export process. So you have your video in media already. It saves your videos for you. You can edit them by clicking on them. So like, I can kind of go to these different frames when I click on them, which is great for saving a view for rendering too. And then export is this little box with an arrow in the bottom left. And then I just make sure that you can export multiple like formats at once. I just make sure whatever I want to export is in here. So it's listed like video 2 is here. And I hit start export. I'm not gonna do that again just because I don't want to fill Marta's computer with a bunch of files that she doesn't want. But that is how you go about the exporting process. And once again, you can edit the length of videos by just clicking and typing. This is seconds, this is minutes. If you make this a 1 minute long video, it's going to take a long time to export. And also, sorry if you could probably do that in Blender. I don't know what that is, but you do that for sure. And tell me what that is if you figure that out. Thank you. Like, you guys are probably gonna end up being better at this than me because I was not taught this. I just taught this to myself. So if you figure out little secrets and stuff, share them with me. But yeah, that's all you'll know about this assignment, honestly. You'll have your whole scene modeled. You'll import it into Twinmotion. You can watch this tutorial. I'm going to get this uploaded as soon as possible so that you can watch back. And you'll just upload the 10, I think it's like a 5 to 10 second animation. And it can really just have one piece of architecture moving. If you want to get really fancy with it, you are more than welcome to.
If it doesn't show
But as
up
long
and
as
it's
one piece is moving, you'll have a great video, and you can edit the directions it's moving in. You don't have to do exactly what I did. Just experiment, have fun. I hope that this tutorial was helpful. If you have any feedback, I would love to hear it. If this is something you guys are interested in doing again, just let me know. I'm going to take a break to answer any questions because that is all I have for you guys. And then for those of you who joined late or those of you who just want to see another quick recap, I will be doing that up until the end of class. Yeah, thank you so much for being so patient. And I really hope that this was helpful because Twinmotion is a great tool. If you have any questions, put them in the chat or ask Alexi or Marta, and I can also walk around.